listening to Xposed Living Be Ageless, the podcast where we drop the masks, flip the script, and talk real life, real love, and real leadership unfiltered. I'm Stacey Vanthuyne, coach, speaker, entrepreneur, and founder of the Xposed Living movement that's redefining what it means to live, lead, and grow at any age. We talk identity, reinvention, belief, and freedom from the bedroom to the boardroom. Yes, we go there. This is not about staying young. This is about waking up. So if you're done with the shoulds and craving more fun, more freedom, more truth, more you, then grab your favorite drink, your bestie, maybe your journal. It's time. Let's get exposed. Welcome back to Xposed Living. Today's conversation is for the women who look like we have it together always, right? But the truth is sometimes we wake up tired, frustrated, foggy. Our body doesn't feel the same. Maybe you're working, parenting, supporting aging parents, managing life, and somehow expected to keep performing all at the same level while feeling very different on the inside. The weight around your middle, it won't budge. Your moods, you feel unpredictable. Your energy crashes midday. Coffee, sugar, wine start to feel like survival tools. And then you're told, this is normal. It's just part of getting older. Here's why today's conversation is so important and what we're going to expose. We've got to stop normalizing this. Just because something is common doesn't mean it should be accepted. And it definitely doesn't mean it's your new forever. So my guest today, Sue Lemoine, works with women navigating perimenopause and menopause, not from a place of fear or restriction, but from nourishment, understanding, and self-trust. We were talking just before we press record here on stress and the impact it has. So we're going to dive into that today. And what I love about Sue's work is that she doesn't see this phase of midlife as decline. She sees it as a turning point. You've heard me say it too. It is our platform for growth, where women can reclaim energy, clarity, vitality, and fully feel alive again. This is a real conversation that we're going to have today around Sue's work. I'm Sue to Xposed Living. I can't wait to dive into the conversation with you.
Oh, thank you so very much. That is an awesome introduction. Thank you. It is my passion, really, to help women navigate this stage of their life, because there's not a lot of information. Our parents and our grandparents, or I guess our mothers and our grandmas, never ever talked about it because it was such a hush-hush thing. And there's just no information out there for women, and women are lost. And now they're starting to really find that they want answers. Like, why am I feeling like this? I never used to feel like this. And
it's a gradual onset, right? So sometimes not even
yep.
recognizing it until fully in it.
Yes, because a lot of times we're so distracted with our life, our kids, our husband, our aging parents, maybe our stressful job, and everything is overwhelming. And then all of a sudden we're thinking, I can't get up in the morning. What's wrong with me? And then you realize, oh, maybe it's been happening all along, but now I absolutely can't get out of bed. I'm just exhausted. And what is wrong with me? And you go to a doctor and the doctor says, well, this is normal. This is your phase of life. And women now are saying, but I don't want to feel like this. I want some answers. So let's get some answers.
And this is where you were sharing with me prior to pressing record that you work primarily around 3 areas in movement, managing stress, and nutrition. Is that correct?
Yes.
So I'm curious. So many people are told their symptoms are just in their head. It's just part of life.
Yeah.
How damaging is that messaging? And then share how you help with those 3 areas.
So you're feeling, most women are feeling off, and they're thinking there must be something wrong with me. I'm going to go to the doctor, get my physical or whatever. And your blood tests all come back normal. And you're thinking, but there has to be something wrong because I just don't feel myself anymore. And the doctor says, well, this is your age, your hormone levels are all good. This is just how women feel in this phase. There's really nothing that you can do about it. But I have an antidepressant here for you to make you feel better. And then you start taking the antidepressant, and then you realize the side effects of the antidepressant are almost worse than your actual symptoms. And so women are thinking, well, there has to be something out there. So what I like to work with first off with my women is I go through and we have a conversation, probably like you and I are having, and we go through how they're feeling, how do they eat, what is their movement like, and what is their stress levels. And we work not necessarily in that order, because if your stress levels are high, then nothing else is going to work. You're not going to want to move. You're not going to want to go for a walk. You're not going to want to eat properly because you don't have the energy or the mental capacity to do all of your meal planning, right? So what I do is I meet women where they're at. So what is what does a day in your life look like?
Especially when it comes to stress, because I think a lot of people, again, we normalize this stress and this busyness.
Mm-hmm.
I almost think that people think of busyness as this badge of honor. Like if I actually,
Mm-hmm.
once I get all of these things, then I'll reward myself with rest, or then I'll reward myself with something that actually is fundamental to us leading a healthy whole lifestyle. So where can we meet people at where they are maybe listening to this and help them start to even recognize some things that they may have normalized but are actually hurting them, and they might wake up like 3 years ago, oh shit, I should have done this. Like,
so how do they feel on a regular basis? Do they have that? Do they walk around with that ball of anxiety in their stomach? And do they take any time for themselves? And I can almost guarantee that 99% of women do not take that time that they need for themselves, just even as little as 10 minutes a day, just to sit and have that cup of coffee, watch the sunrise, or have that tea before bed, or write in your journal first thing in the morning, or take some time out in the middle of your day to read a book that you don't take the time for. Let's start with taking some time for ourselves and really nourishing ourselves. What is your body craving to do? Is it just, maybe you just want to have a bubble bath before you go to bed? Take that time and just sit there by yourself and just relax and think of all the happy thoughts that you have, all the good things that are in your life, right? A lot of times we get stuck in what's happening in the news and the media, and there's so much turmoil and, lack of a better word, badness that's going on. But what are we thankful for? What are the things in our life that we are really grateful for? The things that we get to see on a daily basis. And we don't often do that. We don't take that time.
it's almost like we've been wired to look for what's missing versus
Yes.
what we
Yes.
have, right?
Yeah. And what do we not have that somebody else has? Instead of saying, look at all the wonderful things that are in my life. Look at all these wonderful people. And even look at my pet who loves me unconditionally, or my kids, or my relatives.
I want to rewind and share a little about your story, Sue. I mean, what brought you into this line of work? Because you haven't always been a nutritionalist and
Nope.
someone that is a expert in menopause. And so share with people, how did you get here?
So my background is in legal. And so I've worked in the legal industry for 35 plus years. But I've always had an interest in nutrition. It started actually when I was a teenager. My home life was in turmoil. And so I consoled myself with food, junk food mostly, and partying like most high school people do. I don't know if they still do that. But but then I started to really pay more attention in my 20s. I started to exercise more, And I had gained a lot of weight in my teen years, obviously, because I was malnourished and my body was saying, like, what's going on? So then I started to slowly educate myself. And then when I got pregnant, I decided, well, I'm growing this child inside me. I says, I want that child to be healthy. And that's when I really, really stepped up my game. And then both my girls were in synchronized swimming, so they needed proper fuel on a regular basis. So I did more research on that. And then when I lost my dad from cancer about 13 years ago, I thought, I don't really know a lot about cancer. I don't know. I know that it had a genetic property to it, but is there anything that we can do to prevent it? Sometimes we can, sometimes we can't. But what is the best case scenario? So then I started researching cancer and some of the natural remedies and some of the things that are out there, some of the things that might cause cancer. You can't say definitely, but there's been like any type of research that is in nutrition, there's always for and there's always against. And so I always tell my clients, what makes sense to you? What does your body feel is the right choice for you? Because there's always research saying one thing or the other, and it's so confusing, right? And what do you believe?
What do you believe? Yeah.
So the stuff that I learned when I was doing my research really was horrifying for me. And I had been a clean eater for years, but the stuff that we are allowed to eat that is on our shelves, like all of the chemicals and preservatives that are in our food, absolutely shocked me. And people just really don't know that. They think that anything that is on our shelves has been approved by the government, so it's safe to eat. So I have got this app that will tell you about chemicals that are in your food. It's called Yuka, Yuka, and it will absolutely tell you exactly what that chemical is, what it does, how it reacts with your body, and it will rate that food on a good or bad. And I don't go to the grocery store without it because I don't know all of the chemicals. There's like a billion chemicals in the food, right? So, anyways, that long story short, that made me realize that I really needed to get the word out there to educate people on our health and our nutrition. And because there's so much chronic disease, I just wanted to make at least one person better.
It's interesting to me. I love this story. So thank you for all you
Thank you.
do because
Thank
it's
you.
so important. And you're right. We need a trustworthy source that we can come to. And it's interesting how we kind of started our conversation with saying, when women are going through menopause, back when our parents or our grandparents were going through it, women never really talked about it. And I'm
Mm-mm.
curious to get your thoughts, though. Do you think that the the symptoms of menopause, because of all of the things that we're eating now and didn't when our grandparents were, it has actually made it a bigger topic? Like, they didn't talk about it as
Absolutely.
much because they weren't gaining as much weight. They weren't feeling this way because they weren't eating as, like, let's just be honest, frankly, as much processed food as we do today.
Yeah. Yeah. And it all goes back to our stress. And it is absolutely, there is so much research out there that links chemicals to hormone disruptors. And so that is the very first, well, after stress, it's the very first thing that I look at is what is that client eating? And most often they are eating fast food. They're driving through, and if you take your Yuka app, I don't even know if it does fast food, but
You know
I can
better.
guarantee I can guarantee. Well, I don't eat fast food, so um, I can guarantee that it'll be a red just from the salt and the processed chemicals that are in. But it's absolutely, it's proven that chemicals and preservatives are, and even it's not even in our food directly, but how is the food grown? And trying to get that organic food, even though the organic fields are surrounded by the chemical fields. Let's try to do as much as we can for our bodies. And nothing is perfect because we don't have that control over, but we have a little bit of control and we can make the best choices in our circumstances.
So if a woman came to you saying, I'm exhausted, I'm bloated, I'm moody, I'm foggy, I don't feel like myself, what is the first thing that you want them to know about menopause
So
that they're having?
yeah, and we go through. I've got a list of things that I ask them, and we go through their stress levels. We go through what they eat, and we go through their movement. And most often, I would say in 95% of the cases, it it can be just a simple tweak in your diet, in your lifestyle, or maybe it's a whole bunch of things that we need to correct over time, because we need to do it gradually so that it's a lifestyle change. Because if I say, well, you have to change this, and this, they get overwhelmed and they're thinking, oh, I can't do that. And it's an instant failure, right? So if I say, for instance, they don't drink any water. Okay, so increase your water 1 glass this week. And let's start. And some people can do more than that, but some people can't. And it depends on their stress level as well, too, right? What are they capable of doing? And let's get them drinking more water, eating more colorful veggies and fruit, and having protein with every meal. And those are the foundations of our nutrition. But how many people actually do that?
So good. Well, and even when you were saying, like, how many women take 10 minutes for themselves,
No.
and they might, but guess what's in their hand?
Their phone.
Right? Like,
I know that answer.
right? But like, that's what you're saying, though, is like, be
Yeah.
by yourself. Like, I think a lot of us are
Yeah.
like, oh, finally I can sit down, and what comes on? The TV, or what? Oh, I can take it. What can I'm going to scroll mindlessly. And we don't even realize that these are the things that are adding to our stress. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm so passionate, Sue, too, because I feel like we we don't give ourselves enough space to even decide what's important to us, which is why we're so busy, because we're looking for something outside of us to feel whole, and we're missing the whole freaking boat by like not even like just taking it. Like, journal, what would I journal about?
I have nothing that I do.
Right? Like, or I'll journal, but I'll just make a task item of shit that I need to do. And then I'm going to put check marks beside it. So I feel like I've accomplished something. Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it's so backwards.
Yeah. And that's why I think that menopause symptoms are sometimes they're out of control. I find that the women who are eating whole foods and are exercising on a regular basis, they suffer less. But it's the women who their life is spiraled out of control, sometimes without even noticing, right? And then all of a sudden they're thinking, oh, my whole life is out of control. And what I often find too is you were talking about sitting down, and they just need to sit down and watch TV for a little bit. But a lot of times, especially with the Netflix series, they binge watch, and I don't know, does that make you feel better? But they say that they just want some mindless entertainment, and that's really what our society does. And it's mindless stuff, right?
It's mindless stuff. It's like this busy work done. And I just love this conversation because it's not, there's no judgment in it. Like, it is
No,
what it
no.
is, right? But it's like, if it's not working for you, recognize that there's these things that you can stop. Like, because I think it's an easy crutch for men and women to say things like, well, I'm just busy, or it's just this midlife, or it's just, no, it's actually because we've been building these habits like consistently throughout, and now there is a change physiology with your body, and it's caught up, and now it's an easy blame again, because we live in a world that's looking for an excuse outside of taking responsibility for it.
Yeah, and an easy fix. And you talk to your friends and everybody is in the same boat. So you just think that you're normal. But what if you took that step out of normal and did something great for yourself and started nourishing your body? And you would not believe, just by eating whole foods, how much it can change. There are countless people that just by changing their diet, they lose all of their heartburn.
So can you give some examples of, maybe you would go to grab X off the shelf, but if you actually grabbed Y, it would have these benefits, and this is how you can cook. Can you just share some tips?
So that's a difficult question because it depends on what Y and X are, of course. But and I take a look at what my client actually eats. So then we start to do the substitution. So if you are grabbing off the shelf, say you go to the freezer section and you want to get one of those pre-made frozen meals because that's easy, or a pizza or whatever. That's where my friend Yuka comes in, because you scan that barcode and then you look at everything that's in that box and then you're thinking, am I really going to put that in my body? And so the thing that I try to get people to do is meal plan. And that can be overwhelming to people. But if you do not meal plan and know what you're going to eat throughout the week, then you're going to run out of time and you're going to say, oh, well, I don't have time and I have to go to McDonald's. But if that meal is already made for you in the fridge, then you think, oh, well, it's faster to just heat that up, or even having it partially prepared. Or I start out maybe with just the breakfasts. Instead of going to a drive-through for a breakfast sandwich, maybe you pre-make oatmeal and do like your overnight oats, or doing a smoothie in the morning, putting it all together the night before. Or you can do leftovers for lunch, or make a salad and you can cut up all the veggies for the whole week and then just add whatever you want the night before. And making maybe even crock pot meals for supper, making chilies and stews. And sometimes it can be a lot of work putting it together the night before, but it's stress-free. When you get home, it's already cooked and you think, oh, this is wonderful.
It's one of those, like, pick your heart, right? Like, it is a challenge potentially to do the meal prep and things, but so is living a life where you're foggy and always feeling like you're behind
Yes.
the 8 ball, right? So
Yeah.
these
And
are
it's
the
a
practical
choice.
tools that you teach in order to.
Yeah. And it really is a choice that we make every single day. How do you want to feel on a daily basis? And you get to make that decision, right? By what you choose to do in that day, whether it's your nutrition, your movement, taking time for yourself. Those are all choices, right?
A lot of us Gen X women, we probably don't even recognize some of the subconscious things that go on, and instantly we start to gain weight. So we think of like restricting our diet or restricting ourselves.
So we have to remember that our hormones are out of control. Like they're having a hard time hanging on, and your body is trying to keep everything together. So if you're trying to add extra workouts and harder workouts, you're just going to do a disservice to your body, because it's saying, oh, wait a minute, like now what do I do? And then it's going to like go into more chaos, and it's going to say, well, I don't even know what to help first, right? So if you treat your body with kindness and gentleness, and maybe instead of doing those hit workouts, and your body will tell you, if you are tired, go for a walk instead. Listen to what your body is trying to tell you, right, especially right now, because it's having a hard time juggling, because like your estrogen is going down, your progesterone's going down, and your body is trying to make it from your fat cells. So that's why it It stores it around your belly because it's easier access, right? So it's having a hard time coping. So if we can nourish it properly, if we can feed it the food that it needs in order to regulate everything and drink the water that we need, it's going to say thank you, and it's going to make you feel better. It's going to say, this is what I need. And yes, I can deal with this, and I can help you now. And it's the same thing with immune. Like people that have got a really low immune, most often it's because they're not nourishing their body properly. And because we want to be able to give our bodies the food that it requires so it can fight for you when you're exposed to some of these viruses and stuff, right? If you don't give it anything, it has nothing to fight with.
Chance to fight for you.
That's right. Because you know what? Our bodies are so amazing. We are blessed with this amazing machine. If you think about everything and how it works together, to me, it's mind blowing that between the electricity and the brain and the heart and the lungs and the muscles, and I'm thinking, how does it even do that? But if you're not feeding it properly, and maybe some emotional stuff, all of that stuff gets a little bit messed up and your body gets confused, right? That's the way I always look at it, is let's unconfuse my body. Let's give it some strength.
Give it some strength. You talk
And
about
some
menopause as the beginning of a new chapter.
Mhm.
Let's see. So, not the end. What becomes possible when women stop fighting their bodies and start listening to them and giving them that chance?
So imagine having no brain fog and having energy in the morning, and how would that make you feel? You just feel alive and you want to do things, right? And you're thinking, oh well, I haven't done this in a long time. Let's do this, or let's go for that walk, or let's have this really strong workout, or let's go for a bike ride. But can you imagine, now you're not just existing, you are thriving. And now, because most of us, our kids are growing, if they're not grown and gone, and we still have our aging parents and our high stress job, but we have got time now to really decide, what do we want for the rest of our lives? How do we want to live it? What is our life? What is our quality of life going to be in 10 or 20 years? So if we just exist, what's it going to look like in 10 years? But if we start feeding our body now and we get all that energy and stuff, maybe we've got the energy, and in 10 years we'll still be able to pick ourselves up off the floor when we fall, or we can play with our grandkids, or we can carry our own groceries, right? So those are the things that are important to me. I want to have that strength, and I don't want to be dependent. And a lot of people, when they're coming in to be like 65 or 70, mentally they're thinking, I'm getting old, and that means that maybe people have to start taking care of me, right? But I don't know. I still want to be independent when I'm 100.
I agree with you. And I think this is where the ability to be able to pick up ourselves off the ground also starts 10 years back.
Oh, yeah.
It's like what we do now. This is where some of the things that we knew at one time could happen is kind of coming to that crux. And so here we are at a crux. I love what we talk about on this show and what you're sharing with around midlife, because it is a decision point, right? You can continue to do what you're doing, some of the things that have been contributing to, some of the weight loss or gain, or some of the unhappiness in your life. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
And so if you continue, you can do it, but you can't turn it around. But it starts today.
Yes, absolutely.
It starts
Absolutely.
today.
It
And you
starts
may
here.
not see the results immediately, but trust in that, so that, like, kind of where you're saying, when you get to 70, that fear that you might have of not being able to take care of it isn't even there, because you knew you've been doing the work for the last 15, 20, 10 years, right?
Yeah. There's actually this really impactful little clip that comes around on Facebook once in a while, and it's two scenarios, and it I think there's one on females and one on men, but the one that I remember is the one on a male man, and it's all about, this is your choice. And so one scenario, it runs simultaneously. The guy is lacing up his runners and he's going for a walk, but the other one, he's somebody else is helping him get into the wheelchair, and the one guy is zipping up his tie because he's going to go out, and the other guy is zipping up his oxygen mask, right? And it shows one side, the guy is completely independent and sick, and the other guy is running still marathons or whatever, and playing with his grandchildren and living that full life. And it's our choice. It's the choices that we make. Sometimes there are unforeseen sicknesses, and that's always in people's lives, but we can do the best that we can right now to move ourselves forward healthy. And I'm just so passionate about that.
Feel it. And I love it.
Yeah.
It literally gave me the goosebumps there, but that is like what you want it to be like. And it starts
Yeah.
today. So
it's our choice.
Sue, I have 5 ageless questions that I want to finish off the show with. But before I do that, for all the great stuff that's going on in your world, can you share it with people? Like if they want more Sue in their life, if they want to know where to get a hold of you, how can they do that? I know you have, I think, even something coming up.
Yeah, I have email, and it's sue@flourish-nutrition.ca. If I may share a little bit of a community that I'm starting up, and it is a community for women in menopause, and it's got experts, and it's got it's a hub of information for women. And if you reach out by email, I'm currently in the last stages of putting this together, and it's got all sorts of nutrition information, and it's a web of experts and people who can help answer your questions, because I can talk about nutrition and lifestyle till anything, but I'm not a specialist in, say, hormones, or I'm not a specialist in mind therapy or sound work. So I'm putting a whole bunch of people together. I'm super excited about that.
And I'll make sure that all of that is included in the show notes today.
Okay, thank you.
You ready for some final closing questions? What's one thing, Sue, women deserve to hear more in midlife?
You are not alone. There is a way out of this. This is normal, but there's answers. Absolutely. You can feel better.
What is one belief about menopause you wish we could retire for good?
This is just a phase, and get used to it.
Very good.
There's nothing you can do about it.
Oh, yeah. That's a great one. There's plenty you can do about it.
And that's what most MDs will tell you, right?
One habit, Sue, that supports vitality more than people realize.
Your nutrition. Your nutrition. And it's the 3 things. It's not one. They all have to work together. Is your nutrition, your mindset.
I have a question on nutrition. Is there one thing maybe you would say to people, make sure you're taking this, or maybe it's a supplement or something, but what is something that most people would benefit from?
I tend to make sure that their nutrition is covered. Supplements, you can get most supplements from your nutrition, except for vitamin D. We can't make it ourselves. A lot of us are deficient in magnesium and zinc as well, but that's an individual thing. But it's whole foods, cut down on your sugar, proteins, vegetables. It's everything together. It's not
with the colorful plate is what you're telling me?
Yes.
Eat the
How
colorful
many
plate.
colors can you eat at once?
Okay.
I love that challenge.
That is a good challenge. Sue, to you, what does feeling fully alive, being ageless, mean to you?
Knowing that I've fed my body and I have made it strong through my exercise. I do weights 2 to 3 times a week, and just knowing that you're doing everything that you can, getting the proper sleep, A lot of that stuff is really hard in menopause, but there's lots that we can do to make everything work together to make you feel alive, because it's the greatest thing to be able to wake up in the morning and look forward to the day ahead. I was just talking to someone yesterday and she says, I can't even handle waking up in the morning because I dread how I'm going to feel the whole day. And so she just wants to go back to sleep. So let's end that right now.
Well, what if that's you? What would you say to her as far as like to take that one step?
Well, the thing is, knowing that something can be done and even talking to someone, and like at the end of our conversation, not that we had, because it was just our little introductions, we hadn't made any real decisions. We had made a couple things, but she says just talking to you makes a huge difference. And she just felt hopeful that things will get better. And that's huge.
It goes back to that you were saying, you're not alone.
Absolutely. A lot of women feel because they can't talk to their husbands and their doctors are giving them roadblocks, they just feel so isolated and alone. And their girlfriends might be going through the same thing. They can Google things, but there's so many things that are contradictory that how do you know what to believe? How do you know which direction to go when there's so many directions available? The lady that I was talking to last night, she had said it was just her and her husband's 20th anniversary. And she said that she's seen that picture of them when they first got married. And she says, I didn't realize how happy I used to be and how bad I feel now, because she says, I never feel like that picture anymore. So, and it happens gradually. And then all of a sudden you wake up and you think, what happened?
And they were all justified reasons to get there. Putting the kids first, making sure you did this, did your work. But this is where we both feel so passionate about midlife, is that now we get to reevaluate. You said it earlier. How do you want to live your life?
Yeah, the rest of your life.
Right? Like that's a question
like?
We need to answer for ourselves.
And you said it. It starts right now.
So good.
By making our own decision. Not something that will make everybody else feel better, but how will it make us feel better so that we can feel better, so that we can help people in a different capacity.
This is it. And if you're listening to this episode right now, like Sue, I can't speak for you, but for me, when I started to answer that question, it was hard. Right? But this is why it's so important. Like we go back to what you said. Take the time every day for 10 minutes to ask yourself that question. You don't need to know the answer the first time you listen to it. And truthfully, you probably won't, because our imagination, I always say, have been atrophied because we haven't allowed ourselves to think greater than what we do. Think of it as a muscle to strengthen yourself. So keep asking yourself that day. And one time you will write something, you're like, yes.
Yes. I'm here. I've arrived. I feel better. Let's figure out, what do you want to do moving forward? What can you do? What capacity do you have to move just one small step every day?
Yeah, exactly. And build that momentum. I think as Gen X women, we're so used to knowing, being in control, and then knowing the how. And if we can't, then we can't. And I always go to that Martin Luther King's quote, you may not be able to see the whole staircase, but you take one step.
Yes.
Yes.
That gives me goosebumps.
If this episode did spark something in you and you are curious to learn more, reach out to Sue. I'm grateful for you joining us on this conversation.
Thank you for having me. It's been great. Thanks, Stacey.
What I loved about what you shared is that it gives people permission to stop questioning themselves. Also, to start trusting what they know is true. You're worthy of a break.
Absolutely.
Things can wait. Put the phone down. If someone's needing you, you need you. And
take that 10 minutes.
If you're listening to this, share it out. It's important to know that you're not alone on these journeys. That's the beauty of these conversations, Sue, is that, everybody's journey is personal.
And we go through these things, but you don't have to do it alone. And to Sue's point, there's things to help it to mitigate the challenges, to make it easier. Thank you so much for listening to Exposed Living. Thank you, Sue, for joining. Until next time. So much. Stay exposed, stay bold.
That's it for today's episode of Exposed Living, Be Ageless. But this is just the beginning. If this episode made you feel something, share it. Tag me. Send it to a friend. Let's start the conversation we can be having all along. No shame, no guilt. Unfiltered, raw, real, exposed. And if you're ready to go deeper, join us inside the Exposed Living Facebook community, where we take this work off the podcast and into real life. Know this, your change starts when your excuses die. Because this life, this one wild, ageless, unforgettable life, is waiting on you. This is your time. This is your truth. This is Exposed Living.